Have you ever wondered if dogs experience loneliness? And if they do, how do they show it? As humans, we can easily express our emotions. I'm feeling low today, so bored. But dogs can't do that. They can't pick up the phone or leave a note that says, I miss you terribly. When will you be back? Instead, they communicate through subtle signs you might completely overlook, unless you know what to watch for. So how can you tell when your dog is feeling lonely? In this video, I'll reveal the 10 clearest signs that uncover what your furry companion is truly feeling. And be warned, sign number 7 may seem innocent, but it could actually harm your dog more than you realize, so don't miss it. If you love content that brings you closer to your dog, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on helpful insights. Ready to get started? Let's jump in. You sit down to get some work done, and your dog suddenly starts barking. You try to ignore it. It jumps on you. Still no reaction. Now it's rummaging through the trash, dragging your shoes into the living room, or tugging at your sleeve with its teeth. Sound familiar? This isn't just mischief. It could be your dog's way of crying out for connection. When dogs feel lonely, they'll do whatever it takes to get your attention. And to them, even being scolded feels better than being completely ignored. The problem: if you react the wrong way, you might unknowingly encourage this behavior. Dogs act out like this because they crave interaction. You are their entire world, their source of comfort and safety. When there's nothing to stimulate them, they'll invent their own job, and that job is to make sure you notice them. Without healthy outlets for their energy, frustration builds up, and they'll find any way to let it out. If this cycle isn't broken, things can escalate. Your dog may become even more demanding. If you always give in right away, it learns acting out, sapchant instant attention. But if it feels ignored for too long, it may resort to destructive behaviors like chewing up furniture, pulling down the curtains, or turning your toilet paper into confetti. Not exactly relaxing when you're trying to focus or unwind. So, what's the solution? Establish a consistent playtime routine so your dog knows when to expect quality time with you. Don't rush to give attention right away. Wait until it's calm so it doesn't associate bad behavior with getting rewarded. Offer mentally stimulating toys like treat puzzles or scent games to keep it engaged when alone. And above all, make sure your dog gets enough exercise. A tired dog is a content dog. Regular walks, play sessions, or even short runs can help reduce attention-seeking habits and keep your dog emotionally balanced. Have you seen your dog act like this? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear it. And don't go anywhere because the next sign might really surprise you. It may look completely harmless, but it's one of the most overlooked signs of canine loneliness. Let's move on to sign number 2 right now. You leave the house, maybe just to run errands or take a walk, and when you return, your dog is lying right by the door. Same position, same expression, almost like it never moved. Or maybe the moment you reach for your keys, it suddenly perks up, rushes to the door, and stares at you with those wide, anxious eyes. To most people, this might look like loyalty. Oh, how sweet he waits for me. But what if I told you this could actually be a sign of emotional distress? When dogs feel lonely, they gravitate toward the place where your scent is strongest. And that's usually the door you last walked out of. From that spot, they can hear the outside world, feel vibrations from the floor. And most importantly, hope that you'll walk back in. It becomes their watchtower, their emotional anchor. This behavior is especially common in dogs that are deeply attached to their owners, what we call hyperattachment. And here's the thing, the longer your dog waits, the more that hope turns into anxiety. That gentle stare becomes quiet suffering. For some dogs, The waiting never ends, even if food toys or a cozy bed are just a few steps away. Nothing matters more than your return. Now, this doesn't mean you should feel guilty every time you leave. But it does mean your dog may be struggling more than you think when you're gone. So what can you do? Start by creating a safe, comforting space for your dog. Think of it like a cozy retreat, away from the door. Add a soft blanket, a favorite toy, and most importantly, something with your scent, like an old t-shirt. Dogs find comfort in familiar smells, and this simple touch can ease their anxiety. If possible, use a pet camera with a voice speaker. A short hello or calming phrase can remind your dog that you're still out there and you're coming back. And before you leave, make sure your dog has burned off some energy. A good walk or play session helps shift their focus toward rest, not worry. A tired dog is more likely to nap than pace. Have you ever found your dog lying by the door when you got home? If so, don't brush it off. It may be one of the clearest, yet most misunderstood signs of loneliness. And now let's move on to sign number 3, a behavior that looks completely normal, but might be a silent cry for help. Sign number 3, excessive yawning or lip licking. It's not what you think. Have you ever seen your dog yawn 5 times in a row, even though it clearly isn't tired? Or maybe it licks its lips repeatedly when there's no food in sight. Most people would just smile and move on. He's just being a dog. But what if those tiny gestures were actually emotional warning signs? Here's something that might surprise you. Yawning and lip licking in dogs can be stress signals. They're part of a behavior pattern called displacement behavior, a way dogs try to calm themselves when they're overwhelmed or unsure. And one of the biggest triggers, loneliness. You might notice these signs more often when you're getting ready to leave the house, putting on shoes, grabbing keys, even just reaching for your coat. That's when your dog knows what's coming. You'll be gone, and he'll be alone again. So he yawns, he licks. Not because he's bored or tired, but because he's bracing himself for the silence that follows after the door shuts. And here's the truth. Most people miss these aren't random habits. They're coping mechanisms. They're silent signals from a dog that's trying to self-soothe, because the one thing that keeps him grounded is about to walk out the door. If this happens occasionally, it might not mean much. But if you're seeing it regularly, especially during goodbyes or quiet evenings, it could be your dog's way of telling you, "I'm not okay when you're not here." You ever wondered why your dog does these little things when you grab your keys? Ever thought maybe it's not just about routine, but about loss? These are the kind of signs that slip under the radar until they start to pile up. And by then, the anxiety can grow into something more serious: chronic stress, behavioral changes, even digestive issues. So what can help? Start by paying attention to when these signs show up. If it's always during your exit routine, try softening that transition. Skip the dramatic goodbye. Keep things calm and consistent. At home, keep your dog engaged with toys that stimulate the nose or the mind. Scent puzzles, hidden treats, even a frozen peanut butter toy, they all help shift the brain away from fear and into focus. And most importantly, try to normalize short separations. Leave the room for a few minutes. Let him experience being alone without stress in small doses. That's how resilience is built, bit by bit, not all at once. Does your dog start yawning the second you put on your jacket? Do you notice the licking when you head for the door? If any of that sounds familiar, don't wave it off. These may be the quietest signs of loneliness, but they're also some of the clearest, if you know how to listen. But what happens when those signals disappear entirely, when your dog stops reacting at all, even when you walk in? That's what we're going to talk about next. And it might be the sign that hits hardest of all. Sign number 4. Withdrawing from interaction. When your dog starts pulling away. There's a moment that's easy to miss. You walk into the room maybe after being gone for a while, and instead of jumping up to greet you, your dog stays curled in the corner. You call its name. No tail wag. No excited trot. Just a glance, maybe. And then it looks away. At first you might think maybe he's tired. Maybe he's getting older. Maybe he just wants some quiet. But deep down, does it ever make you wonder? When did this start? When did he stop coming to the door? For a dog, that kind of withdrawal isn't just about being mellow. It can be a sign of something much deeper, emotional disconnection. Dogs are social animals. They're wired to seek interaction, to feel part of a pack. So, when a dog starts choosing isolation, when it stays in one spot, even when you walk by or call its name, it's not just being independent. It might be giving up. And that's not easy to hear. But think about it. If your best friend stopped talking to you, stopped looking you in the eye, you'd know something was wrong, wouldn't you? It's the same here. A dog that's been left alone too long, too often, can begin to shut down. It doesn't mean it doesn't love you anymore. It means it's learned not to expect the interaction it craves, and slowly that craving becomes numbness. Have you ever noticed your dog not reacting when you come home, when just a few months ago it used to bounce with excitement? Have you told yourself, maybe he's just mellowing out? But in the back of your mind, there's that quiet voice wondering, what if it's not mellowing? What if it's loneliness? So what can you do to bring him back? The answer isn't to overwhelm him with attention. It's about rebuilding that emotional bridge gently. Start with small, meaningful moments. Sit next to him. Speak softly. Offer a treat, but don't force it. Let your presence be enough at first. Reintroduce curiosity with scent games, puzzle feeders, or even a slow walk in a new area. It's not about doing more. It's about making what you do together feel meaningful again. And if he doesn't respond right away, don't take it personally. Just like us dogs need time to heal emotionally. But if you show up consistently with patience and care, you give him a reason to come back from that corner. A reason to believe in connection again. But what if, instead of pulling away, your dog does the opposite and starts following you from room to room, refusing to let you out of sight for even a second? That might feel like love. But in truth, it could be something else entirely. Let's talk about that next. Sign number 5, following you everywhere. Love or anxiety? You get up to grab a glass of water and there he is right behind you. You walk into the bathroom and he waits outside the door. Even at night you feel his presence by your feet, or watching you from the hallway. It feels sweet, right? Like loyalty. Like love. But here's the hard truth. Not all attachment is healthy. When a dog follows you from room to room every hour of the day, it might not be because it loves you so much it can't bear to be apart. It might be because it doesn't know how to feel safe unless you're in sight. That's not affection. That's insecurity. And I know if you live alone with your dog, this might sound familiar. Maybe you've told yourself, we're just close. Maybe you've laughed it off. He's my little shadow. But have you ever wondered what happens when you're not around? What does he do when the house goes quiet? When there's no one to follow? A dog that can't be alone without stress isn't just clingy. It's anxious. And left unchecked, that anxiety can turn into full-blown separation, distress, restlessness, pacing, barking, scratching at doors, destroying things. Not because he's bad, because he's scared. And maybe you've seen it, the whimpering when you close the bathroom door, the panting when you put on your shoes, the way he stares at you when you move across the room like he's counting the seconds you're away. That's not trust. That's worry. So how do you help a dog like that? It starts with teaching him that your absence doesn't mean abandonment. Just like dogs need to build confidence bit by bit. Leave the room for a minute, then two. Don't sneak out, but don't make a big deal of it either. Come back calm. Let him see that, when you leave, you always return. You can also use things that hold his focus: puzzle toys, frozen, treats, scent games. The goal isn't to distract him. It's to teach his brain that being alone can still be okay. That calm can exist even without you in the room. Have you ever asked yourself, is he following me because he loves me, or because he's afraid to be without me? That's a tough question. But answering it could be the key to giving your dog more peace, not just when you're home, but when you're away, too. And here's something even more unexpected. What if your dog isn't following you anymore? What if instead it's become fixated on licking itself over and over in the exact same spot? You might think that's just grooming, but the truth might go much deeper. Let's get into sign number 6, because this one isn't just emotional. It could have serious physical consequences too. Sign number 6, excessive self-licking. When soothing becomes harmful. You're watching TV. Your dog is lying nearby, and you hear the soft, repetitive sound of licking. At first, you think nothing of it. Dogs groom themselves, right? It's normal. But then it happens again, the next day, and the next. Always the same spot. The front paw, the belly, sometimes even the side of the leg. And you start to wonder why that spot. Why so often excessive licking isn't just grooming. It's self-soothing. It's how a dog tries to comfort itself when the world feels off. And loneliness, more than anything, can trigger that pattern. When there's no play, no conversation, no connection, your dog turns inward. It finds relief the only way it knows how. But here's the danger. What starts as emotional comfort can quickly turn into a physical problem. The more a dog licks one area, the more irritated that skin becomes. Before long, you've got redness, bald patches, sores, sometimes even infections. And by the time you notice it's gotten serious, the habit is deeply wired. Have you seen it yet? That focused, almost zoned-out licking that happens when you're not really engaging with him? Maybe during long afternoons when the house feels quiet. Maybe when you're working in the next room. Maybe he doesn't whine or bark, he just licks. The truth is, dogs don't always cry out when they're hurting. Sometimes they cope in silence. And unless you know what to look for, you might not see the damage until it's too late. So, what can you do? Start by gently interrupting the behavior. Use a calm voice, call his name, offer a toy, or invite him into a different activity. Don't punish, but do redirect. Make sure your dog is getting enough physical and mental exercise throughout the day. Tired dogs are less likely to engage in compulsive behaviors. Offer chew toys, scent challenges, or short training sessions to shift focus and reduce stress. And if the licking continues, or if you see signs of skin damage, don't wait. Get him checked by a vet. You need to rule out any physical causes like allergies, pain, or infections. But even if it's purely emotional, the habit still needs attention. Because chronic stress doesn't just stay in the mind, it shows up in the body. Do you remember the first time you noticed that spot being licked? Did you brush it off as no big deal? A lot of us do. But sometimes, the quietest habits are the most dangerous ones because they sneak past us while we're busy. And if your dog has stopped licking, but also stopped eating, if even his favorite food doesn't spark interest anymore, that's when the emotional toll of loneliness may have reached a deeper level. Let's talk about that in sign number 7, because this one can affect not just your dog's mood, but his long-term health too. Sign number 7, loss of appetite. When food doesn't matter anymore. You pour his favorite kibble into the bowl. Maybe even add a little broth this time, something you know he usually loves. But instead of rushing over, he sniffs it once and walks away. You call him gently. Maybe shake the bowl a little. Nothing. At first you think maybe he's just not hungry. Maybe he had a treat earlier. But then it happens again. And again. The same hesitation. The same sad glance at the food, then back to the floor. Have you ever told yourself he's just being picky? But deep down, you start to feel that unease, because you've shared enough quiet dinners together to know this isn't about the food. For dogs, appetite is tied closely to emotion. When they feel safe, connected, balanced, their eating routine is steady. But when they feel abandoned, forgotten, emotionally shut out, everything changes. Just like us, dogs can lose their appetite when they're depressed or stressed. Their hormone levels shift. Their digestive system slows down. Even food, the thing they once got so excited for, just doesn't feel worth it. And here's the part that really hits hard when a dog stops caring about eating. It's often because he's stopped expecting joy. It's not just about being alone. It's about feeling disconnected from the person he trusts most. You. Have you ever come home after a long day only to find his food untouched? Did you assume he'd already eaten? Or maybe you just thought, he'll eat when he's hungry. But what if he's not hungry, not because of his stomach, but because of his heart? It's easy to miss, and even easier to dismiss. But the risks are serious. Skipped meals can lead to weight loss, nutrient deficiencies, low energy, even long-term health problems. A dog that doesn't eat isn't just sad, he's vulnerable. So how do you help him? Start small. Don't change the food right away. Change the energy around it. Sit with him while he eats. Talk to him. Make meal times feel calm, safe, connected. Keep the schedule consistent so he knows what to expect. Eliminate stressors, no loud noises, no rush, no pressure. And if he still turns away, it's time to look deeper. Rule out medical causes with a vet. But don't ignore the emotional signs, because the body listens to the heart. And when the heart is lonely, the appetite fades. Have you noticed his bowl staying full more often than usual? Do you hear the quiet crunch less and less? These moments matter. They're not just about meals. They're about whether your dog still feels joy in your shared routine. But what if it's not just eating less? What if he's doing something else all day instead? Like sleeping? A lot. More than usual. And not just resting, but disconnecting. That's what we're diving into next in sign number 8. And you'll want to pay close attention. Because too much sleep might not mean your dog is relaxed. It might mean he's given up trying to stay awake for you. Sign number 8. Sleeping too much. Not resting, just escaping. You see him curled up in the same spot again. Maybe by the couch, maybe in the hallway, maybe right by your feet. His eyes are closed, breathing steady. Peaceful, it seems. But then you realize it's the third nap today. And it's not even noon. You start counting. Morning nap, afternoon nap, evening nap. Maybe even skipping the usual bark at the mailman. No interest in his ball. No tail wag when you stretch or move. Just sleep. And a question creeps in: is he just relaxed? Or is he shutting down? It's tempting to chalk it up to age. He's older now. Or the weather. It's been rainy lately. But here's something most people don't realize. Dogs that feel emotionally empty. Dogs that no longer feel engaged or connected, they don't act out. They shut down. And sleeping becomes a form of escape. Not just rest, not recovery. Escape. Because when a dog no longer expects stimulation, when he's been alone too long or disconnected for too many days, his brain begins to conserve energy. It's a defense mechanism. And over time, that stillness becomes his new normal. But it's not peace. It's resignation. Have you noticed it? The shift from play to pause. From alert to absent. Does your dog seem less interested in things he used to love? Walks, toys, even you moving around the house. Have you started whispering to yourself? He's just tired, because saying anything else might be too hard to admit. But deep down, you know your dog. And when his world gets quiet, too quiet, you feel it too. So what can you do when sleep starts to replace life? Don't try to jolt him out of it. Start by gently bringing novelty into his day. Change the route on your walk. Bring in a new smell lavender mint, something safe but stimulating. Try a game he's never played before. Sometimes even a few minutes of gentle tug or scent work can reawaken the parts of him that still want to connect. More than anything, be there. Not just in the same house, but with him. Sitting close. Talking even softly. Not expecting much. Just showing him that his presence still matters. Because sometimes what wakes a dog up isn't noise or toys or snacks. It's you. It's your energy. Your invitation to live again. Have you been telling yourself he's just low energy lately? Have you wondered why he sleeps through things he used to jump for? If you have, you're not alone. And he might not want to be alone either. He just doesn't know how to ask anymore. But what if sleep isn't his only way of showing distress? What if something even more disruptive has started to happen? Something that affects your daily life. Something that might feel frustrating at first, but is actually a desperate message. Let's talk about sign number 9, next. Because when your dog starts having accidents in the house, despite everything you've taught him, it's not about stubbornness, it's about stress. And it's his last-ditch effort to say, I'm not okay. Sign number 9, house soiling. When accidents aren't about training. You walk into the kitchen and there it is again. A small puddle by the door. Or worse, a mess in the hallway. And your first instinct, frustration. Maybe even a little anger. We've been through this. You know better. But before you say anything, pause. Because sometimes when a dog who's been perfectly house-trained suddenly starts having accidents, it's not about forgetting the rules. It's about not knowing what else to do with how it feels. Have you ever had a moment when your dog made a mess right after you'd just taken him outside, and you stood there scratching your head, wondering why now? What changed? And in the back of your mind, did a tiny voice whisper, is something wrong emotionally? Here's the thing, dogs thrive on routine and emotional security. When either is disrupted, when the house feels emptier, when their days become too quiet, when your energy shifts, they don't just feel confused. They feel unsafe. And one of the first places that stress shows up is in their bathroom habits. It's not about disobedience. It's a signal, a reflex, a release of tension in the only way they know how. Some dogs will whine, some will chew, and some will urinate, because when their nervous system is overloaded, control slips. It's not about the rug. It's about the heart. Have you noticed your dog doing this more often when your schedule changes? Or after you've been gone longer than usual? Maybe it started right around the time you began working in a different room, or when visitors stopped coming around. Little shifts you barely noticed until your dog started reacting. So what now? How do you respond without making things worse? First, breathe. Don't yell, don't punish. That only deepens the anxiety. Instead, ask yourself what's changed in the rhythm of your home. Has your dog been alone more often? Has the energy of the household shifted? Then reset the routine. Make potty breaks predictable again. Praise gently when things go right. Keep the tone calm. And when you leave the house, make your departure low-key. No long emotional goodbyes, no drama. Just a clear, quiet signal that you'll be back. You might also consider adding comfort anchors, something that smells like you, a soft corner with a view, even a pet cam with your voice. Because sometimes the smallest reminder that you're still part of their world can stop the spiral of stress before it starts. Has this been happening in your home? Have you started wondering if it's something more than just an off day? You're not alone. And neither is your dog. Even this behavior, though messy and inconvenient, is a form of communication. It's a cry for connection. But what happens when your dog stops crying altogether? When even the messes fade, and what's left is silence. No barking, no reaction, just a stillness you can't quite explain. That's when we reach the most invisible and possibly most heartbreaking sign of all. Let's talk about that next, in sign number 10. No reaction at all. When your dog stops. Trying, you walk through the door at the end of the day, keys in hand, expecting that little burst of excitement, the shuffle of paws, the happy eyes, the familiar tail thump against the floor. But today, nothing. He's there. You see him. But he doesn't get up, doesn't run over. He just lifts his head slightly, then lays it back down. And you stand there for a second wondering, when did that stop? It's one of those moments that sneaks up on you. One day, the greetings are quieter. Then they're slower. Then they're gone. And at first, maybe you think he's tired. He's mellowing with age. But deep inside, there's that tug. That little ache you don't want to name. Because what if he's not just tired? What if he's given up? When dogs stop reacting? When they no longer rush to the door? No longer perk up at your voice? No longer show that spark? They may not be calm. They may be shutting down, emotionally flat, disconnected, not from you, but from the hope that you'll notice. And this is where it hits hardest. Because unlike barking or chewing or accidents, this sign makes no mess. It makes no noise. It just happens quietly over time until one day you realize he's not trying anymore. Have you ever looked at your dog and felt like something was missing? Like the light behind his eyes had dimmed just a little? Have you asked yourself, is it me? Did I miss something? And if so, please hear this. It's not too late. Dogs are resilient. And even the quietest soul can come back to life with consistency, presence, and love. But they need to know you still see them, that you still choose them every day, even when they're silent. So what do you do now? You reach out. You sit beside him, not to play, not to distract, but to simply be with him. Let him feel your warmth again. Bring back the small things, routines, walks, words he knows. Let him hear your voice more often, not just commands, but conversation. Remind him what connection feels like. Because that moment when he looks up again, not just to glance, but to truly see you, that's the beginning of coming back. That's the moment he realizes you're still here. And so is he. Has your dog stopped greeting you like before? Do you miss that old spark, the one that made you feel like you were the best part of his day? Then maybe now is the time to bring it back. Gently, honestly, fully. And remember, every sign you've seen in this video, every behavior you once thought was just a phase, is your dog's way of speaking to you. And now that you've learned the language, the real question is, what will you do next? Let's wrap this up together. Because what comes after the signs is what makes all the difference. So now you know. Loneliness in dogs doesn't always show up as a cry or a bark or a torn-up cushion. Sometimes it looks like quiet yawns, a missed meal, a nap that lasts too long, a mess by the door, or a tail that no longer wags when you walk in. And if you're like most dog owners, especially the ones who spend every day, every hour with their dog, you might have missed a few of these signs. Not because you didn't care, but because you were so close, so connected, you never thought loneliness could exist between you. But it can, and it does. Your dog can be by your side all day and still feel alone. Not for lack of love, but for lack of engagement. Lack of emotional clarity. And that's no one's fault. It just means now. You know better. And once you know, you can choose. You can choose to see your dog again, not just with your eyes, but with your attention. You can choose to speak to him in the way he understands, through presence, through routine, through small acts that say, "You're safe. I see you. I haven't forgotten who you are to me." Have you been seeing any of these signs lately? Even one? Then let this be the moment you shift things. Not with guilt, but with grace. Because loneliness isn't about being left alone. It's about feeling disconnected even when someone's nearby. And no dog deserves that. Especially not yours. What's one small thing you'll do differently starting today? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what stood out to you most. Was it the licking, the silence, the waiting by the door? And if this video helped you understand your dog just a little better, stick around. Because in the next video, I'll walk you through 5 simple daily habits that not only prevent loneliness, but help your dog thrive emotionally, even when you're not home. This journey doesn't end here. It just begins with a look, a pause, a second chance to listen. He's been talking this whole time. Now, you can finally hear him.